I'm guessing, actually, that you liked some of the budget. Would I be right in thinking that you liked the lifting of the two-child benefit cap, but you didn't like the freezing of tax thresholds?
Correct. So we do support the lifting of the two-child benefit cap for two reasons. First of all, we think it is morally the right thing to do. And secondly, because it saves money for the taxpayer in the longer term, because we know that children growing up in poverty end up costing the taxpayer more because they have worse health outcomes, worse educational outcomes as well. We support the government's attempts to increase taxes on the remote gaming companies, for example. So those are good things that we do like, but we are deeply concerned about this double whammy stealth tax on both households and on high streets.
I want to come to all of that, but this is unusual for Liberal Democrats. You guys all have an eye to popular policies, and lifting the cap is a pretty unpopular policy because people say you have a choice these days about how many children you have, and why should we subsidise when we have decided to have only 2 children? Why should we subsidise people who want to have more?
Honestly, I think politicians have not gone out and sold the argument on this one. The fact is that if you don't subsidise them, to use that word, when they're growing up as children, we end up subsidising them lifelong. And so you can save money in the public purse. If you invest in children when they're young, they get better health outcomes, better educational outcomes. They're less likely to be unemployed as adults. So if we want to tackle the welfare bill, which is projected to grow and grow and grow, one of the best ways of doing that is to invest early on so you save later on.
Let me put to you something that Cathy Ashton, who's on the panel today and who was a Labour minister, said, which is that when she was in government, what they put money into was Sure Start. Mm-hmm. And there are many people, including David Blunkett, former cabinet minister, who've been saying this week that actually if you had $3 billion to spend, that is a more effective way of using it, rather than giving £3,500 pounds to people who may or may not use it well, may or may not use it to support their children.
But there are lots of different ways in which you could spend this money. Of course there are. So there are different interventions. We can have that argument. But there's absolutely no doubt that the vast majority of child poverty charities have said, if you want to do this instantly, if you want to have an instant impact, this is the fastest way of having an instant impact on child poverty today.
All right, one item I wasn't sure you would like in the budget is the council tax surcharge on homes over 2 million. You for that or against it?
We're against it because it's just such a mess. Economists from left to right have said in the last few days, this is very complicated, it's a messy system, it won't come into effect for 3 years, and it's going to raise £400 million. If the Chancellor wants to go after wealth, we have said, why not raise a windfall tax on the big banks? You could raise £30 billion in the next 5 years. If you want to go after wealth, then why not reform capital gains tax in a more progressive, fairer way so the 0.1% super rich pay more? If the government is serious about going after wealth, they could raise a digital services tax on people like Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg. All 3 of those measures would raise significantly more than £400 million from tweaking a system that could be ever so complicated. So I think the government needs to get its priorities straight. Well,
you have a priority of your own, which is to tax big business, and you've mentioned 2 kinds of big businesses. Big businesses, of which there are, by ONS definition, 8,000 or so, employ 11 million people in this country, 40% of the workforce, and they're going to be saying tomorrow morning to each other that they need to slow hiring because national insurance hike, and now because of business rates. You're going to kill, if you were in government, you'd be killing growth, wouldn't you?
No, we absolutely wouldn't. We've been calling for measures that would boost growth. We have singled out particular businesses and particular sectors where we think they could pay more money. So for the big banks, for example, the windfall tax that we're calling for is not a tax on the profits they've made from lending any money. It's the money that they've made from doing nothing at all, from taking no risk at all because of a glitch in the quantitative easing process. When you look at the digital services tax, this is a tax that would be levied on these really, these billionaires, the richest man in the world. I don't think you can honestly say that these particular sectors could afford to pay more money.
You're not seriously saying Elon Musk is going to pay our welfare bill. The pensions alone knocking on 130, 140 billion. Even Elon Musk hasn't got that kind of money.
Look, when you add up all of these different measures that we're calling for, it does add up to billions of pounds. And also, we said you've got to grow the economy. We can't keep talking about just taxing or cutting. We have got to grow our way to prosperity. And the best way of doing that is getting a better deal with Europe, which even within the government's own red lines could bring in an extra £25 billion a year.
OK, so rejoin the EU.
Look, that's not on the cards right now. What is on the cards is getting a better deal with Europe. There's so much red tape affecting British businesses in this country right now. If the government got a better deal and got rid of 2 billion bits of paper that businesses have had to complete since the Brexit deal, we could improve growth. You could have British businesses exporting abroad. That would bring extra revenue into the public purse to pay for our public services. OK, last quick questions. How worried are you about the fact that Mr Zach Polanski is hogging the limelight as a sort of leftish receptacle for disillusioned Labour voters? Look, Zach is clearly a very charismatic guy, but when you look in the ballot box, we Liberal Democrats have been absolutely winning in so many of the by-elections recently, in many places where the Green vote has been going down. So we're pretty confident that where we are fighting hard, we are doing well.